This week we have and it's not going to work. You're trying. We have another one long on the list.
Yes.
For several reasons.
Yep.
which are thoroughly discussed in the coming episode.
Excellent.
Yes. But it's one of those that needed to be done. I'm okay with it.
I watched it. I did, I talked about it with you.
Yes, you did. And awesome.
Well, it's
I know. And, not everything is for everyone. And this was, we had a good conversation. It's a long conversation. Got us going on some stuff, which is great. And, some great lessons that we talk about.
Some tangents.
Quite a few, because it certainly lends itself to that. Yes.
I can appreciate when a movie provokes thoughtful discussion about topics.
Yeah. And this one does. Mostly about itself as the topic. But there's
how could you discuss anything else? How? Tell me.
Well, so I just want to, listeners, while I was listening to the primary episode and, editing and balancing and doing all that stuff, there was a couple spots that just really just made me crack up. Your reactions and comments in some areas are delightful.
Well, that's why I listen to the podcast.
Well, me too.
For my reactions.
Many times. So you'll probably enjoy listening. And like I said, we have a lot of great stuff that we talk about. And that was just playing in our ears now.
Yep.
All right. Well, should we just jump into this?
Let's do it.
All right.
Hey there, B-Siders. Welcome to another episode of Bravo for the B-Side. This is Danny.
And this is Jim.
And this week, we have one that has been on our list for a very long time. One that I have been reluctant to do.
Yeah.
And then I ultimately kind of caved and was like, okay, let's do this one this week. It's been on here a while. We haven't done any films from this sort of...
universe.
Right.
Yeah. And it is a universe.
It is.
Now, it's been on the list because I've been dying to do it.
I know.
And because of what we do, this is super deserving of addressing.
It's definitely a cult classic.
Oh, it is. Yeah. And it has, like I said, created its own universe, which is pretty awesome, I think.
It is.
Super awesome.
Yeah. And I think there are definitely some lessons to learn from this movie. There was a lot of love that went into the making of this movie. I will say, it is not one of my favorite movies. I don't know what it is. I get the attraction to it. I get why it's a cult classic. I see the love that it was made with. It's just watching it makes me feel physically ill.
This is a movie that you love it or you hate it. It's one of those, there's absolutely 0 degrees in between. It's 0 or 100%. You're not, can't be ambivalent about any part of it and be like, yeah, still it's okay. It's like, yeah, or
well, yeah.
And you're very
well, it's because, okay, I get in a clinical sense why people like this movie, why it's a cult classic, why it's one of those so bad it's good. I get it. I do. And I respect this movie, but I can't help the fact that when I watch it, I just feel queasy the whole time.
Okay. I mean, we don't share the same opinion of everything that we see. Most of it we do. But there's always a few where it's like, I'm good. Enjoy. I'll go into the office.
Right.
Watch your movie.
Yeah, you do
know.
you.
And then there's the occasional, like Downton Abbey. It's not my thing.
That's fine.
I will not go out and search it out. But when you have it on, I'll sit and watch it with you.
Yeah.
I don't run from the room. But yeah, it's just not a go-to for me.
I think there's another Downton Abbey movie coming out.
I'm sure we'll see it.
Yeah. Yeah, we will.
Oh, man. Busy week.
We did a lot this week.
Yeah. We got our new couch that we had talked about last week.
It's great.
And yes, and even our neighbor on D&D night last night was like, this is an excellent couch.
Yeah.
He's fighting sleep in the corner. He had to bust out some Red Bulls.
Yeah, he was like, I didn't really get why you guys had a problem with the other couch. I thought it was fine, but this one, ooh.
Yeah. Let's see. Got some metal detectors.
We did.
Because we are going to get into metal detecting.
Yeah.
Something we've wanted to do.
For a while.
For quite a while.
Yeah. Inspired by the show Detectorists.
Right.
I mean, it's not like I was unaware of it before we watched Detectorists, but that show made me kind of fall in love with the hobby as a hobby.
Well, and I have done a lot of exploring, or had done early on, years ago. Not metal detecting.
Right.
But, finding stuff. We have all these wonderful little tidbits around the house. An 1800s knife that I found because I kicked it with the toe of my boot, and it was literally like less than an inch of the surface in the desert. It's all desert finds. I've got, asteroid
pottery
bits, meteorite bits, pottery, that I've, taken to the university, and they checked it all out. Some fossils.
Yeah.
Got a vertebrae.
Yeah.
That's super old. I mean,
it is extremely old.
Yeah.
You also have some petrified wood.
Yeah, petrified wood, and collected from areas not protected. Let's just make that clear, because it's everywhere. If in Arizona, you know where to look. You can find it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, this is our next logical step, and kind of to have fun. So we're going on vacation later in July, and we're going to take them with, and we're going to do that like early morning stuff and do some nice walks and see what you find. It's fun. It's a fun kind of thing. We guested again.
We did on the Disc Dump
our
podcast.
Friend Miles Trout and his podcast, The Disc Dump.
Yeah.
We got to talk about Danny's favorite film. I can say this because by the time, folks, you hear this, it'll be 2 weeks late. I don't think he goes that far ahead.
I don't think he does.
So he asked us to come on because he knew Danny loved Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Yeah, he actually reserved that movie to talk about with us, which was really nice.
And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. We played a game on there that Danny rocked it.
You did pretty good.
Well, I think it was the tiebreaker. There was 5 of them. I think we both.
The tiebreaker was unsettling.
And then,
I've thought about it a lot since then.
Let's not mention too much about it, folks. Travel over to the Disc Dump podcast and check out the Fear and Loathing episode.
And his other episodes, too.
Well, all his other episodes, but this particular one to find out what we're talking about. Yeah. You'll know when you hear it.
Yeah.
There's no mistaking.
It's haunted my dreams. And it will for a long time.
Oh, man. And then just other life things going on.
Yeah.
Moving and shaking here and there, just getting through the week. Our wee one has gotten her first vaccination shot and is weathering it.
Today is the day after.
Yeah.
So she's been a little tired and grumpy today.
There's a movie called The Day After, or a TV miniseries about day after, bombs dropping.
Sure.
But they should just grab that title and
call
it a syndrome, The Day After. That's what happens when you get vaccinated. Oh, this doesn't feel bad. You wake up the next day, kill me. This is terrible.
Right.
So, good going. And then we brought this bad boy into the mix.
We sure did.
I know it was a labor for you, but for me, it was just another fun, It's like a really good week. Today was shit. Today was just a fucking nightmare of just those little, for me, those little things that just piss you off, but they just kept coming. Just like there probably 6,000 or 7,000 things aggravated me at the grocery store.
Yeah.
I was like, why can't you fucking people just leave? Go.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's like you all like picked up the manual and picked your part on what you're going to do to piss Jim off today.
Oh, I've noticed that your butthole has been super tight today.
It's not been great. I mean, even making dinner, I'm like, fuck. Everything's running late and I forgot we're doing it this way, and just putting groceries away, right? I just simply put something on the counter and for no reason it leapt off the fucking counter onto the floor. Just that kind of day. Anyway, so here we are now to do an episode, and life is better.
Life's good.
Yeah.
Life's
so
good.
Let's talk about this movie here.
Well, why don't you give us some stats?
All right. Today, we are going to talk about the Toxic Avenger.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah. From 1986, directed by Michael Hers and Lloyd Kaufman, written by Lloyd Kaufman, Joe Ritter, Jerry Terry, and Stuart Strutten.
Okay. Jerry Terry is the best name I think I've ever seen.
It is crazy. I love that there's a whole like fistful of writers.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't often get movies with maybe two, right? But usually it's the single, but yeah, there's a whole clan of people who put this together. Starring Andre Miranda, Mitch Cohen, Jennifer Baptist, a bunch of others. Heavy rated R. Estimated budget $475,000. And of course, the log line is Tromaville has a monstrous new hero. The Toxic Avenger is born when meek mop boy Melvin falls into a vat of toxic waste. Now, evildoers will have a lot to lose. Booyah.
And this movie kind of birthed the Tromaverse.
Yes. Troma is, like I said, it's its own universe. It's its own separate corner of the movie making machine.
Yeah.
And Lloyd Kaufman has, we're going to talk about this. He has created an empire.
Oh, absolutely.
And everybody, who is vaguely familiar with it, at least knows, Toxie and,
yeah,
just the whole formula and everything. It's going to be super fun to talk about.
Yes.
All right. Well, we're going to talk about all that afterwards, but for right now, why don't you bring us into this gateway film?
Gateway film.
Yeah. When you watch this, it leads to deeper, harder, crazier shit.
I'm kind of scared now. All right.
You're
anyway,
in it now. It's too late.
So we get warned right away as this film starts with a super that tells us this movie contains extreme violence. And then we get a brief introduction to New York City and the pollution that it produces. And we learn that Tromaville, kind of a little suburb outside the city,
right,
is where pretty much all the toxic waste gets dumped. And it's all introduced by this kind of like Troy Donahue, Doug McClure style voiceover, and hearing it, and I haven't watched this movie in a very long time. The last time I watched it was that time you forced me to watch it with you.
Jesus Christ, I did not force you to watch it. Anyway, moving on.
Anyway, I sort of missed those like voiceover intros to movies. We don't get those a lot anymore. It was very 80s thing.
It was. And just to sidestep a little bit. So my favorite film is Local Hero.
Yeah.
And it's when it comes up, it's the most 80s start to a movie.
It's very 80s.
Right? We've got the radio going. We got the weird traffic scenes. We got, the guy driving his car. All the stuff that we've since figured out is the worst thing to put on the screen because it's irrelevant. But honest to God, every time that movie starts, I can't help but feel like any second that's going to kick in.
Yeah.
That voiceover intro.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like, this is where it belongs. This is where it lives.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, as you know, like, and this isn't what it says, but it's this sort of feel to it, welcome to Tromaverse, city on the rise. Check out the industry. Do, 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 do.
Yep.
And it's super fun. So then we're in a gym with a totally 80s trademark. Totally 80s workout montage.
Yes. Oh my God.
All these people in there. And we meet Melvin. He's the mop boy. Yep. That's his job. He's not like a janitor. He's mop boy.
Right, mop boy. He's just mopping floors left and right.
Yeah. And so, yeah, he works there. And this gym, and Melvin's not doing well in this gym. Just generally.
Well, Melvin's like, what, 5'4"?
Maybe
80 pounds.
Right.
I mean, yeah, they picked the scrawniest. I mean, that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
The 80-pound weakling.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just about as classic nerd, like weak little dude as you can possibly get. And I have to say, over this montage and, kind of introducing this gym is one of the grossest, most disturbing places I've ever seen in a film.
Yeah.
It's so gross. And the gym rats start hating on Melvin. They're giving him some shit, and he accidentally dips the mop in the hot tub.
Yeah.
That they're all chilling in. And so they just start like passing him around mosh pit style, throwing him to each other. And so we kind of get the sense that Melvin doesn't have it the best. He's doing what he can, but he also seems like really cheerful. He's smiling all the time, and he seems to like try and bring the best out in people, but it just doesn't work out.
No.
So then we have two of the gym rats apparently have the gym to themselves for the night. And it took me a while, to get names because I've never super cared about the names. But so they start talking about all the hit and runs they do at night. Like they open the locker and there's like a news story of like, oh, hit and run, victim dead,
Yeah.
And it's the whole thing. Apparently this is what they do for fun. They drive around at night and hit people and try to kill them with the car.
Yeah.
And this like gets them so horny that they start fucking.
Yeah.
In the gym. And this next scene is really just them flopping around on each other on a bench. Are you all right?
Yeah, it's pathetic. It's clearly, to give us the idea of what they're doing, but also it's just like, well, we got to have him do something while Melvin makes his way through the place, They
look like, like if you took a rubber chicken,
yes,
and just like hit it against another rubber chicken.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it looks like. And then Melvin, who is mopping nearby, hears them and comes to watch, and he's just like standing there watching them for a long while.
Yeah.
And they catch him watching and then threaten his life. Like they pull out a switch knife and are like, "Murr." So later, Bozo, who is one of the gym rats, and Bozo, I have to say, is one of the most high-strung people I've ever seen in a movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Bozo, here's what I believe is going on with Bozo. Okay. He has one of those really long balloons that clowns like blow up and make into animals.
Right.
Filled with cocaine, shoved all the way up his rectum, like going through his whole intestinal tract, and there's holes poked all over this balloon.
So it's like one of those passive water distribution watering systems.
Yeah, he just gets a balloon cocaine enema every morning, and that's how he lives his life.
Probably, because Bozo straight off. You're just like, wow. Don't know if they wrote him like that or if this was an actor's choice, but Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I will admit, he makes this hard to sit through.
You think?
Okay.
So he's driving this car and they start assigning, like as they're driving around, this is their hobby, doing hit and runs. And they're all talking and they start assigning these really racist point values to like people that they can hit with their car.
Oh my God. Yes.
So they see a kid on a bike and they're like, oh, 28 points or something.
Yeah. Some weird.
But you have to kill him. So they hit the kid and it's pretty brutal.
And by kid, we mean kid.
Yeah, he's like 8 or 9.
I thought he was more like 11 or 12.
Maybe.
At most.
Yeah. A child on a bicycle. So they hit him and then he's still moving. He's like crawling off the road. And this is super gory.
Yeah.
And it's, and he's still moving after the first hit. So they hit him again and smash his head under the tire. And the effects, I will say, the effects in this movie are pretty fun. Pretty great.
Oh, absolutely.
The effects are not where my...
I mean, it's mid 80s.
Yeah.
Right. So practical effects, had a plateau back then. And these were like, close to the top of the summit.
Yeah. They like exploded his head under the tire.
Yeah.
And then they take out a Polaroid camera and start taking pictures with him for their own personal enjoyment later.
Yeah.
So the next morning at the gym, there's a jazzercise instructor yelling at a class when one of the murdering teens...
I refer to him as asshole number 2.
Well, I later caught his name and it is Slug.
Yeah, but I just liked asshole number 2 more.
Sure.
But sure. You do your thing.
It's fine. He comes up behind the jazzercise instructor and puts a snake down his shirt. And this is just as the instructor's like, do everything I do. And so we get a little silly thing happen.
Little Three's Company humor.
Yeah. And then Bozo is stressed, as always, about Melvin again.
I know.
So his girlfriend, whose name is Julia, she says that she has a plan to deal with Melvin. So at the pool, she pulls Melvin aside and tells him to meet her in the girls' locker room later. And Melvin is just like about to wet himself with excitement.
Yeah.
And you have to see it, but this is just, it's so much. This is so much. So we see outside, there's some drivers hauling toxic waste, and they pull over in front of the health club to do drugs.
Well, they made it sound like, because they mentioned dope.
You're right.
And through the 70s and 80s, dope, I guess, I don't know that there's like a convention.
It's just drugs.
It's just drugs. But, I guess it depends on where you are. Now, like in the Midwest, when you said dope, that was marijuana.
Right.
And of course, some dope, that means, a couple joints, bong hit or something. But it wasn't marijuana.
No.
That these guys were.
No. So they pull over, I guess, because that's the safer way. I don't know. They pull over to do drugs.
Yeah.
And they're in front of the health club, the gym. So then in the locker room, Melvin is meeting Julie and she starts like coming on to him in this really obvious way. And she tells him to put on a pink tutu because she's wearing pink and they can't have sex if he's not wearing pink, I guess.
Pink makes her hot.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone would believe that. So she tells him to put on this pink tutu and go down to the pool. And I have to say, all these women in this movie have the most like disturbingly distinguished tan lines on their tits.
Yep.
Was that like a thing?
Well, yeah, because nude sunbathing was no.
Huh.
Right? Not even rooftop. I mean, you wouldn't take that chance because in the 80s and stuff, throughout most of the country, doing so. And if you did it on your own property, but you were within public view, that is indecent exposure, lewd and lascivious behavior, blah, 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 blah. And, some cities and municipalities were really, it's not like a ticket. Here's, your $100 fine. They'll fucking lock you up.
Yeah, but they had tanning beds in the 80s.
No, they weren't super used.
Huh.
And you got to remember these, women, I mean, especially these health club type things, right?
Yeah.
Bikinis and stuff were like the deal. But women often, I mean, that's what they did. That was the free time. If you're in that kind of group, you're out at the beach, you're in the sun, you're wearing your bikini, you're lathered up in all your coconut oil and cocoa bar or whatever shit that they put on. And that was just it. Yeah. Cause you don't have like tits out. You just got your bikini thing. And that's when in the 80s, bikinis started getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it was like a full bra thing, the whole Madonna thing. And then
until it's just about just pasties.
Yeah, barely a pasty. Right?
Right.
It's like there's just enough fabric there to hold these strings in place.
Yeah.
And,
But these are like someone put little triangle pasties on them and did a spray tan, like they're deep orange and then white triangles.
Because tanning was the thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's always the big giveaway, in these kinds of films, or if you saw someone, they take their top off, you see this pasty white triangle, right? in the middle of their tits. It's like, wow, you are not, Mediterranean descent. You're just a fucking white bitch with a tan. And that got less and less and less because, as we learned, that much sun is extremely bad for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But being out in tanning beds weren't necessary because people just go out into the sun.
Yeah. Well.
Anyway.
Thank you for that aside.
Sure. Let's get past the pasty triangle tits.
All right.
All right. Later, we have Melvin in his tutu heading to the pool with his mop. He's very excited.
Yes.
So outside, the truck drivers are getting wasted. And this is one of those where they're like, from like hairline to chin covered in white powder.
Yeah.
And whatever. God. So inside, we hear Julie's voice and we hear Melvin, but it's pitch black. And then the lights come on. And then we find out Melvin is making out with a sheep. Everyone is surrounding him. Right. And they're there laughing. And we've seen this a million times in Revenge of the Nerds and, just all kinds of stuff. Melvin, of course, is just like horrified. So he bolts in a panic and in shame.
Yeah, follows him full through the gym.
Yeah, and they're just...
This is a very long scene.
Yes, it's just going back and forth, up and down stairs and this and that. And they're just there laughing.
They're very committed to this prank.
Absolutely. And so he ends up running down the hallway and jumps out of a window. Actually, I should say jumps through a window.
Yeah.
And then lands in the toxic shit on the back of this big flatbed truck that's right below. So there's a lot of bubbling, a lot of smoking, a lot of gloop, gloop, gloop sounds. And he gets out and he's all fucked up. And he falls off the truck, lands on the sidewalk. And then, of course, now everyone has come out of the club. And they're laughing at him as he's melting and smoldering, right? And this is also great effect because things are happening.
It is good, yeah.
And then we cut to Bozo. He's like, he's faking it. And he's getting madder because Melvin's hurt. And
yeah, he's more stressed.
Yeah, chemically melting. So, yeah, his like blood pressure is shooting up. This fucking guy, man. Every time. I hate him.
Yeah, one of them balloon holes really opened up.
Oh, I think one of them, yeah. So then the cops come. They're trying to help. They touch Melvin, and one of them starts on fire. Mm-hmm. Melvin gets up and bolts away. And then all of a sudden, he's on fire in another cut. And there's some great tragedy music with all this. And then we cut to his house. Melvin's mom is knocking on the bathroom door as he's in there wallowing in pain. He gets in the tub, and then we see him transform. Right?
Yeah.
So we saw some like bubbly shit going on, but now the transformation's coming. And it's really great fun practical effects.
They're very good.
Right? The transformation is excellent and fun, but I want to note you don't actually see him. We don't see his face, right? We see the head, the arms.
Yeah, we see him from behind mostly.
Right. or close up on torso, and we just reason for that. When it's done, oh yeah, well, and of course, while this is happening, Mom's outside the door constantly asking, "Are you all right, Melvin? Are you all right?" When it's done, we have a very tall, muscular, albeit heavily deformed version of Melvin. Welcome, universe, to the birth of the Toxic Avenger, or as he will become to be known, Toxie.
Right.
Yeah. So, and they don't call him that in here, but I do.
Well, right. I knew that they would call him that later, but I made up all kinds of fun names for him.
Well,
throughout my notes.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I just called him Toxie because that's what I'm used to. So after this, we see Toxie running through a field and then down roads. back and forth, cutting from one to the next. And then we cut to night, and we have 3 thugs counting cash. And they are ridiculous.
Outrageous.
They're talking about bribing a cop, Clancy. Well, who should come up but Clancy the cop? He refuses the bribe, and then they proceed to beat the living shit out of him.
Yep.
I mean, there's no real rhyme or reason why he should have accepted that bribe. Any indication of ramifications, he says nope, and they just start fucking wailing on him. I love that.
Right, or even what they're bribing him to do.
Here's some money. No, thank you. Bam, 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 bam.
Basically, yeah.
Fucking wow. Oh, gets me every time. So one of the thugs, Cigar Face, he's the leader, turns or burns Clancy's forehead. It's like, now you're going to see why they call me Cigar Face. And aside, if you're going to have a character who smokes a cigar, the actor portraying them, take the time, spend the money if you must, but make sure they know how to talk with a cigar in their mouth. Like it shouldn't look like it's the first time anything that big has passed their lips.
Yeah. And
stayed there. It one of those little fine points. Arguably, they could have done better. So anyway, while he's babbling around his cigar, now you're going to see why they call me Godface. He burns Clancy's forehead with a cigar. Then they end up throwing a bloodied Clancy into some boxes. There's always boxes
everywhere.
In these 80s movies, in the alleys, fucking empty boxes.
Empty boxes.
Everywhere.
No one knows how to break down a box in the 80s.
No.
You know how you break down a box in the 80s?
You throw a bloody cop on it.
That's right.
Okay. So anyway, as they start now getting into guns and they're about to blow Clancy's dick off, Toxie arrives. He rips the scalp off of one of them.
Yeah, just pulls it right off.
Yeah, and then the other one's wearing a wig. Mm-hmm. And he ended up just pulling the wig off of that one. But that was fucking awesome. And then just...
Yes.
And then proceeds to just fuck up Cigar Face. The big thug, and this is the guy who just had a chunk of his scalp taken away, tries to punch Toxie, but he ends up getting his face smashed. The one with the wig gets his eyes poked out, which is kind of cool. And then Toxie picks up Cigar Face by the balls and stuffs him into a barrel, nut punching him into it. Mm-hmm. So he puts him upside down, legs are spread, and he just keeps hammering his fucking nuts, pounding him further and further into the barrel.
Yes.
I love that. It's, it is what it is.
It's fun. It's fun, it's violence. It's good effects with the eyes and everything.
And again, mind you, folks, we still haven't seen Toxie. We haven't seen his face.
Right.
Nope. Not even like a hint, And then when he's done, he uses the mop to finish the other idiots off. Scalpless and eyeless, wigless dude. And then next thing we know, Cigar Face runs off.
Yeah.
It's out of the barrel and sprints off. And then we see Toxie going to the cop, hands him his gun while growling. And I know you love this so much. You can't deny it.
Yeah.
Because this just cracked you up every single time. So we hear, that's Toxic coming up to him. And then we get, don't worry, I'm not going to hurt you.
Yeah.
It is so painfully obviously dubbed.
Oh, God.
It's ADR work, and it is fucking hilarious.
It is.
Oh, my God. This in and of itself could be considered one of the just fucking crown achievements of this movie. So then we see Clancy at the station, and he's being tended to. I guess they're not doing a very good job of it. But anyway, there's a bunch of reporters asking him what happened and where. And then we get a newspaper headline flashing up. Monster mops up mobsters.
Mops.
Clever.
Yeah.
So back at the health club, asshole number 2's slut is going into the sauna. So Bozo's slut is Julie.
Yeah.
Asshole number 2 has a slut. I know she has a name, and I don't even think I bother with it. Maybe at the end I did.
I never found out her name.
They're just so unimportant, you don't care. Anyway, so she's in the sauna, and then we have some eerie music, and then we have this Quasimodo elephant man thing covered in a shroud lurking towards her, and the music is rising, and boom, it's asshole number 2, and he's playing a joke.
Yes.
Then we see Toxie knocking on his mother's door. She opens it, screams, and shuts it.
Yes.
So then we see Toxie sitting by the docks, and he's sad.
Right.
You don't see his face, but you get the sense he's sad.
He's sad.
He's all...
There's sad music.
Yeah, sad music, slouched shoulders, And then we see him walking the tracks, and he ends up in the toxic waste dump of Tromaville. And then I put in here as a note to those who have not seen this, through all of this, we still haven't seen his face. He finds this old, caravan.
No,
camper.
he makes himself a home with cardboard and stuff.
Oh, I thought it was the camper shell.
Nope.
And then he fixed it.
Nope.
Right.
He just makes himself a cardboard
He
house.
randomly hangs a picture of his mother.
Yeah. That he got from somewhere.
Yeah. Must have been carrying it in his prison wallet.
Yeah.
And then he goes to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
It has been a rough, long day for Melvin/Toxie.
Yeah, that's true. So then we're at a party with the mayor, who's outraged. He's a great white, right? He's a big dude, and he's complaining about a dump on the waterfront, and there's girls dancing in the background for no reason. And then he and these other guys are talking nonsense about some deal. And literally, this conversation makes no sense at all. Nothing they're talking about is connected to anything else, and not even anything within the conversation, except to demonstrate that these guys are, I guess, villains of some kind, probably. And then they laugh like,
So in the 80s, well, think of, what were the most common villains in comedies, horror films, drama, everything, right? Unless it was a Bond, super elaborate kind of thing, right? It's always the businessman, the fucking wealthy landowner, developer bullshit, right?
Yeah.
That is 9 times out of 10. Right. That was the peg. And I agree with you because I put it in my notes too. Because, having seen it many times, it's nope, still no fucking connection. They just, will end up having something to do with the toxic dump. Yeah. Right. And we know how that goes. It's that sub story that never really came out.
Right. They have villainous plans of some kind. I guess.
They'll build a daycare center over a covered over toxic dump without taking out the toxic waste. I mean, that's kind of the big thing. Right. Right. Yeah. So anyway.
So then we're at a restaurant, and these thugs come in to rob the place, and they're interesting thugs. These guys, they're clearly a. I love how you're just laughing. They're Mad Max, they've got paint on their faces. They're
Oh, shit. Yeah. Everything from the Warriors on up through Mad Max, Road Warrior.
yeah, they're like apocalyptic thugs. So they're in there to rob the place. This guy stands up to start talking to them and they shoot him. And then they start hassling this blind girl. And then they shoot her dog. And then Beefy Melvin, see, he was beefy this time. Beefy Melvin comes in to the rescue. He rips the arm off one of the guys.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of fun.
Yes.
And then he beats up the clown boy and the other one. I didn't label these guys very clearly.
I didn't either.
But it's a very fun fight.
Yeah.
And Beefy Melvin, as we know, can talk very clearly. But in these fights, he just growls incoherently.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And it's not like human sounds. It's not like he's going, ooh,
Yeah.
or whatever people sound like when they fight. I know, for sure. So the clown boy gets up. He tries to hit Melvin with like a tank of something, like a fire extinguisher or something.
Right. Yeah.
And then Melvin grabs him and he turns him into an ice cream sundae in this restaurant, which apparently makes like everything under the sun.
Yeah.
But he like pours milk in his mouth and like does whipped cream and
and then that base stuff, the shake base stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and puts him under like a sundae mixing machine, and then like blood comes out in a little fountain. And then he deep fries another one of the thugs, his hands.
Yep.
And then he takes the leader and shoves him in the pizza oven. And then he leaves mop heads on all of them.
His calling card.
Yeah. So he goes over to the blind girl, and now he's Smooth Melvin. Are you all right?
Yeah. Keep going.
Are you all right?
Are you okay?
Right. So he helps her up and takes her out the back so that she can avoid the police in the front, I guess. So he takes her home. We have this little montage of them walking together.
Yeah.
And we go to her house, and she's got like 100 canes up against the wall for some reason. The little red tip canes, right?
Oh, well, they killed her dog.
Oh, yeah, they killed her dog. Oh, so she couldn't find her way home.
Yeah.
So he walked her home.
Seeing eye dog.
Yeah.
She was caneless and dogless.
Yeah. So yeah, they walk in the door and all these canes like fall off the wall.
Yeah.
And then we're back at the restaurant and the cops are making food jokes about the dead gangsters.
Yeah. Bad. Really bad.
And that was the only reason we cut to the restaurant, was so that we could hear the cops making food jokes about the dead gangsters.
Yep.
And we cut back to the blind girl's house, and she's giving Melvin a palm reading. And then she like goes to grab his other hand and she like grabs his dick.
Yeah. And then there's some lovely music, some uncomfortable synthesizer. Bonk, 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 bonk.
We're going to have a romance here, you guys. That's what this scene tells us.
That or a hand job.
Well, maybe. And then we're in some kind of classroom or something. A lot of these sets, I'm not really sure what they're supposed to be.
It was a seminar.
Uh-huh.
Like a briefing.
Yeah, it looks like a college lecture hall.
Well, I mean, it could have been.
Maybe.
Wherever you can find a place to do it, I guess.
And there's a guy who's dressed in like a scientist outfit. And he's got a terrible fake German accent. And he's talking about the monster only destroying bad people. And they're talking about Toxie here.
Yeah.
And we have like kind of this little press conference where everyone is making a lot of assumptions based on very little information.
Well, it's a lot of assumptions and it's highly expositional.
It's very, yeah.
Not that we needed it, because we've only seen a little bit and we get what he's doing. But,
right.
But this has a point for being done right here.
Okay. And then we're back at the gym. And one of the guys who works for the mayor is dealing drugs in the gym. I think he's the gym manager, maybe? I don't know.
He's a terrible drug dealer.
He's awful. But he's dealing drugs in the gym. And then the gym rats are talking about their hit and run victims. And in comes beast mode Melvin.
Yep.
right? And he's like on a fucking mission.
Yes.
And the gym people scatter like rats, like the gym rats they are.
Yeah.
And he gets the drug dealer guy and like smashes his head in with a weight.
Yeah, one of the lift counterbalance weights.
Yeah.
Gets him under there, lets go, and the weights come crashing down.
Boom.
It's beautiful.
And then he leaves a mop there.
Yep.
Yeah. Super fun practical. This movie has wonderful practical all the
Yes.
way through. And then we're back with the girl from the sauna from earlier.
Mhm.
Asshole 2's girlfriend.
Yeah.
And she's got the same towel, and it's almost the exact same setup as the last time we saw her in the sauna.
Well, you know they just shot
Oh, yeah, I know.
scene 7. Okay, now, all right, cut, wrap, all right, print. Let's jump to 19. Go.
But this time, she's masturbating to the murder Polaroids of their hit and run victims,
Yes.
which is a sentence that I just said.
Yes, it is.
And it's a true sentence. So in comes mysterious Melvin under a sheet.
Yeah, well, it's a replay
Right.
of asshole number 2 and his Quasimodo Elephant Man
Yeah.
bit. But clearly, we know it's Melvin.
Yeah.
But, because it's this kind of movie with this
Yeah.
kind of young woman.
But how does Melvin know that this was a thing? Like,
I don't know.
okay.
It's like, you know what? The answer to that is right behind the answer to the question of what makes people think to ask the fucking murderer wearing a mask in the hallway, babe, is that you?
Right. The person who's a full foot taller than their spouse or whatever.
Well, yeah, and I still always go back to, who the fuck else would you be expecting in this house? The two of you are alone, or you're camping, or you're somewhere, and then, babe, is that you? Well, anyway,
so
Oh.
mysterious Melvin is coming up to her under the sheet like her boyfriend did. And so she's like, ah, ha, ha, so funny. And she pulls it off. And we get to see Melvin's face for the first time.
Yep,
Face Melvin.
right up in her shit.
Yeah. It's a great face.
It is. It's an awesome. It's a patented face. They've made improvements,
Mhm.
refinements as the makeup and things over the years.
Oh, definitely.
But in each subsequent film, it's the same.
Yeah. Definitely. It's a great face. And he picks her up and he burns her ass on the hot sauna rocks.
To this day,
There's a hot ass joke.
every time I see this movie, I'm reminded that there is no better murder scene in film anywhere than sticking someone on hot sauna rocks with their bare ass. And really, it just leaves you to assume that he cooks her to death.
Right.
It's sauna rocks. Never before, and certainly never since, has anyone been taken out by sauna rocks.
At least not ass wise.
No, I mean, we've had faces burned. We've had people. There's one that's just come out on, or showed up on one of the services, where it's a bunch of people trapped in a sauna and they're trying to get out. I don't understand it. I'm sorry. Might be brilliant. I don't know how it could be, but I don't get it. How can you put like 5 people in a fucking sauna and then cook them to death? I mean, unless it's like in an old World War II German bunker.
Yeah.
Right? How can you not get out of a fucking sauna?
Oh, you bar the door?
Anyway, I guarantee you in that movie, nobody was ass cooked to death.
Right. No one's ever been cooked ass wise in a sauna before.
No. So interesting choice. One that has stuck with me over the years and kills me every time I see it. She's literally doing one of the most reprehensible things that any of these characters have done, other than all of them running the people over, right? She's the only one who's getting all wet and juicy over, brain splatter pictures of a 12-year-old.
She's masturbating to murder Polaroids.
Yeah.
In a sauna.
And while everyone else is equally, as big of a shit as she is, she's the only one doing this thing.
Actively on the film, yes.
Yeah. And how she just gets her ass bare ass put on rocks. Everyone else is getting their fucking skulls crushed and
Yeah,
arms ripped
she gets off pretty easy.
I think so.
Yeah.
But I also can't help but feel, not a lot of thought went into maybe that particular scene, because I feel like it would take quite a while to cook a person to death with their ass on rocks.
Ass first.
I mean, and especially Toxie, who's like, trying to come get in and get out, right?
Sure.
Someone comes up and he's like, "Hold on a minute," in his dubbed voice.
The sauna is occupied. Please wait your turn. But he has to dedicate like several hours to that. Anyway, okay. Death by cooked ass. Anyway, after that, we see him in the alley taking a piss. A heavy flow of green toxic whatever is slamming against the wall like a fire hose.
Yes.
And then for no reason, a pimp drives up, gets out, and offers Toxie a young girl.
Like a 12-year-old.
Yes. So Toxie starts in on him. And then, like a clown car, we have all these thug functionaries pouring out of this caddy limousine.
Yes.
Because every good pimp travels with an entire entourage of these losers.
It's not a stretch limo either. It's just like a regular short limo.
Right. Yeah, it's not a stretch. It's just, yeah. Anyway, so Toxie naturally fucks all of them up in turn. And then when he's done, he gets in the car with the young girl, right? And I wrote this, presumably to take her home, because there's no conversation, no indication, and no follow-up. It's almost like he fucked these guys up, and then he was going to go into that car with her and turn a trick with the 12-year-old. Jesus Christ. Let me just stop right here for a moment.
Okay.
This is where it's important to understand your story flow. And story flow is not from beginning to end, and the things, the ups and downs from, point A to point B. Every scene has a story flow.
Yes.
Every scene should have a beginning, a middle, and an end. It should have a purpose, and it should have resolution. Now, I know I'm not the only one who every time I see this is like,
I guess we have to assume.
Yeah, desperately searching and listening for that little bit of dialogue we might have missed the one time 15 years ago.
Right.
Or in the 90s. Maybe it was the VCR quality. Who knows?
They did ADR for all this anyway. They could have just, "Let's take you home, young lady."
Right? But nope, he fucks them up and then ushers her in the car and slams the door shut. And that is probably the most uncomfortable scene in this whole thing. I myself would have cut it completely from I would have seen this. I'd have been like, "Oh, I don't care if the director has final cut or whatever. I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to burn the fucking film." So this can never come up.
Who's driving this car?
Well, there's always the functionary driver.
Who worked for... Anyway, let's go. Past
Well,
this.
maybe that's the code of the streets. Damn, he killed my boss. All right, I guess I work for him now.
That's how things work, I think just generally in the world.
Well, look at the Star Wars universe.
You want to get ahead at work.
You kill Grand Moff Tarkin.
Take out the person in charge, then you get to be in charge.
Well, yeah, Grand Moff Tarkin dies, right? And so everyone's following Vader, and then all of a sudden the Emperor shows up because it's like, well, we can't let Vader be like a dog without a leash, and then Vader's gone, the Emperor's gone. Well, it's the next fucking wiener that it's Kylo Ren. It's like, oh. Guess I'm the boss now. And everyone's like, yeah, he's the boss now.
Yeah. This is, as I've learned in many stories, movies, books, D&D sessions, you take out the person in charge, and then you are the person in charge.
And their functionaries will not question. They'll just transocean, we're now Team Danny.
I mean, it just seems natural.
Okay. Let's just move on. Then we see Bozo and asshole number 2 lining up to run over 2 kids. And then all of a sudden Toxie sweeps in just in time to save them. And then we see him helping out an old woman crossing the road, carrying her groceries. And then just a whole montage of various scenes of him helping out. And it ends with people selling shirts saying, "I love the monster hero." And it's got a picture of him on it.
Yes.
Right. And then we get a quick shot of the bad guys.
This is the mayor and also some other people.
Yeah. And they're talking about killing this monster hero, killing Toxie. So then we cut to Toxie walking in an alley. And then all of a sudden, Cigar Face shows up with some new thugs. And they all close in on him. And Cigar Face is all like half mummy wrapped.
Yeah.
Because, needless to say, it's over pretty quick. I didn't feel like this needed a blow-by-blow. Toxie just fucks him up. And then we cut to the daytime. We have our blind woman is being harassed by some sad-looking bikers.
They're not very threatening-looking bikers.
They're not. But anyway, she calls out for Melvin, and then he shows up and scares them off. And then we have a montage of their love blooming. That lasts quite a few minutes.
A while, yeah.
It doesn't get easier to watch no matter how many times you see this movie.
Nope.
It's just like, the director's cut should like slice this into 1/5 of the duration.
Yeah.
Anyway, after that, we cut back to the health club. Julie's in the locker room, and we hear breathing and grunting.
Yep.
Just whatever. And all of a sudden, Toxie pops out from under the bench. And then another woman walks in as he's attacking Julie. Julie takes off. Toxie chases. She runs to the basement. There's lots of screaming and running and a lot of clearly dubbed crying.
Yes.
Because whatever Julie's face is doing is not crying in any of the multiple shots that we have of her. And Toxie eventually corners her and comes at her with scissors.
And then we cut to Bozo and Slug, who are stressed about Julie not being there with them. Because I guess she has the car.
She's our ride, man.
Yeah. Slug's girlfriend, who was murdered like a while ago in this movie, before the montage. So presumably it's been a while and they found out what happened. No mention of her.
Nope.
They don't care.
Hey,
as far as I can tell.
Rule number 1 in the streets.
Yeah.
Kill the boss, you're the boss.
Sure.
And if your boss gets killed, you work for the new boss. Rule number 2. If your skanky sauna murder masturbatory slut girlfriend gets killed, you just pretend it never happened.
Yeah.
There you go.
Anyway, they're upset that Julie isn't there because they want the car. And then they see an old lady who has a car and they just go and beat her up in broad daylight. There's people in the background.
Yes.
Walking around. And they just beat this old lady up to steal her car. Then they're driving and they see Melvin and they try to hit him. And then we get car wrangler Melvin.
Yep.
I didn't capitalize that in my notes, but I capitalized it when I said it. I think you could hear it.
I heard all the capitals.
Thank you.
Yep.
So he gets rid of Slug pretty quickly in the car. And then he's in the passenger seat and he starts fucking with Bozo. And at one point during this kind of like car drive fight, Bozo says, "I'm a stressed person," which is the best line of, I think, the whole movie is Bozo saying, "I'm a stressed person."
Yes.
And I completely believe him. If nothing else in this movie is remotely believable, I believe Bozo in this moment. So Rage Melvin at this point is actually on a bit of a danger spree himself.
Yeah.
He has put a shitload of people in danger trying to kill Bozo. Finally, they're in a fiery crash and indestructible Melvin walks away.
Well, yeah, he ends up steering the car through a crowded park.
Yeah.
Because at the edge of the park is a tiny bluff.
That's what I'm saying. He put a buttload of people in danger and he did not give a shit because he was like, "I'm busy killing Bozo."
Yep.
So then we're at a dry cleaners and this little old lady brings in a pair of like nasty ass pants. And the cleaner goes out to deal with some cops who are ticketing his car. And the lady is still in the dry cleaner. And then Ninja Melvin comes in. Do you like my names for Melvin?
I do, yes. It's fitting.
He comes in and he dry cleans the tiny old lady because I guess her sons are like pimps or something. She's not a good lady.
No.
And we know that based on this conversation the cleaner had with her. So Melvin, like Ninja Melvin just comes in, puts her in the dry cleaning machine, like presses her, and then disappears into the broad daylight. And the cleaner comes back in to find her body. And then it seems like the town papers are turning on Melvin. You know, like we get another series of headlines about, is the monster killing innocent people?
See, now this ties back to that whole seminar.
Sure.
The bad German accent.
Oh.
How he only kills bad people.
Yeah.
And so now this to me, and it's like one of the few solid things in this movie that resonate every time it's seen over the years. Perception.
Sure.
Nobody knows that, she's in on the shit with her kids, right? Lets them do their evil deeds, which, by association makes her guilty and complicit, but they see him killing a tiny, and she was a little woman.
She was small.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, that would turn public opinion if they didn't know.
Yeah.
And then plus, driving that car through that park full of kids and leaving behind a dead, bozo who nobody knows has been out running people over, kids, women, and,
right.
Children, everybody.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I guess. So then we're at Melvin's place, which is the cardboard house he built in the dump. And he's coming up to the door and the blind girl is inside and she can hear some noises and she's nervous. It's this whole kind of like fake scare thing that they do for no reason here.
Yeah.
And she's like, who is it? And then boyfriend Melvin is like, it's just me, Sarah. So her name's Sarah. And she's living with Melvin in the dump. I guess he's using her blindness to his advantage because she can't see where they're living.
But she sees the beauty of him within.
So he starts telling her his troubles, how he's afraid that he's getting in too deep in this whole thing. And he doesn't know if he'll be able to stop killing people. So they decide to run away together where there are no people and Melvin can't kill people. And they name a park that's apparently like real close. So they're not running very far.
No, they're not. It's where the uptown bus ends.
She's like, you told me about this park you used to go to when you were feeling overwhelmed. Let's go there. And he's like, okay. So then the mayor is telling the police chief that they need to kill this monster that's going about. And the mayor has vested interest in killing the monster because he's the bad guy of this movie.
Yeah.
That's why he has vested interest.
Yes.
So then he holds a press conference to talk about how the monster is a menace and killed this innocent old lady. And people are asking questions. They're like, but I heard her sons were doing these things. And he's like, she was an innocent old lady.
Yeah.
We don't know. And then the cops all have a meeting about killing the monster.
Yeah.
And Clancy, the cop who got beat up earlier in the movie, is not about it.
No.
He's like, I don't want any part in it. He's good.
Right. And then we see Clancy in an ice cream shop.
Yeah.
With some, one of the Mexican restaurant employees, because where that whole bit took place with the painted face burgers
guys
and stuff.
And the ice cream.
Yeah, it was
stuff.
a Mexican restaurant.
Right.
Oh, the weird, but
it's called the Mexican restaurant.
Yeah, it's called the Mexican restaurant, and it looked like they had somewhat could be construed as Mexican dishes on the menus in the background. But again, it's like they had everything.
Right.
It's like, I'm not going to name it, but there's an independent restaurant here in town.
Yeah.
That when we went to go visit it, we were marveled at the array of choices. Everything from fried shrimp to gyros to chicken to burgers and hot dogs and brats and seafood.
Well, it says that it's a chicken restaurant, which is fine.
Yeah.
In the same way that like KFC is a chicken restaurant.
They had lobster tail
Right.
and crab claw. I'm like, what the hell?
They're like, this is wild. Let's try some chicken.
So,
It was all right, by the way.
yeah, I mean, power to them. Moving on.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I've got an employee from that restaurant sitting there, and they're arguing that Toxie should not be killed. I don't know. Well, they're like talking to each other.
They're soundboarding. They're
Yeah.
making themselves feel better because apparently they can't do anything about this posse going out to try and kill the monster.
No, and in fact, they have surrounded themselves with kids. And I wrote this because every time I see this, I just love it. I love that the kids who are actually eating ice cream, not giving two fucks that they are on camera as they just do their thing
Yes.
in this scene.
Uh-huh.
Clearly, they were told, okay,
Sit here and eat some ice
yep,
cream.
and then, just, be quiet and this and this and this and action. They didn't fucking care, especially that one little girl. She is just like, bitches, this scene is mine. Oh, man, I love it. So anyway, we come and we have these cops and police dogs hunting down Toxie. Always wonder where in the evolution of things all these decisions are being made.
Yeah.
Anyway, endless resources. So they find him and Sarah. And they're looking at binoculars. Sarah, by the way, is in a bikini for no real reason in a weed-infested field swarming with mosquitoes. And as I say that, I can tell you exactly why she was in a bikini. Because her tits are pasty white and she's tanning up, but getting that nice, defined pasty triangle.
That triangle.
Yep. Over the nipple area.
That she can't see
That she can't see.
because she's blind.
But Toxie, he knows what he likes.
Oh, it's for his benefit.
Yep.
Okay.
I like dark skin.
He was like, you know what I like?
dark skin and untanned nipples.
Give me those pasty white nipples.
And, anyway. So, then we see the Tromaverse mayor is on the phone. He's asking the governor for the National Guard.
And the governor's like, sure.
Yep. So the next thing we have, they're rolling out tanks and trucks and jeeps and ambulances and some shots of vehicles driving through neighborhoods. They finally converge on this field. And then we cut to the tent and we hear snoring. And then we pull back and surrounding it is tanks, trucks, most of the town, guns, everything but the kitchen sink.
Yeah.
Around this tent.
Everyone is there.
So the mayor wants him killed. And some army dude says they can't. The orders are to take Toxie alive. Anyway, Melvin then comes out. Or no, Melvin's mom comes up to yell at the mayor.
Right.
And then the police chief says it's time to kill him. So because of that, everyone, military included, who just said they can't do it,
right,
just gets ready to kill him.
Uh-huh.
So then Toxie comes out of the tent, and then a bunch of people run up to stand in front of him, threatening that the mob will have to shoot them first.
And they all have the I Love the Monster shirts.
Yes. And then Toxie tells them to run. The mayor yells, fire. Clancy refuses. Then the army refuses. And then the land assholes are all there from these meetings.
Right.
So they're getting ready to shoot. And then the mayor opens fire. Toxie lumbers towards him. And I put in a note, this guy loves to lumber.
He sure does.
He has a variety of movements in here, but his signature move is lumbering.
Yeah.
To or from the camera. Occasionally that one time across.
Right.
Yeah. So by the time he gets to the mayor is begging for Toxie not to hurt him. Toxie punches him and rips out his guts.
Yep.
And I was like, bye, mayor. That's awesome.
And then everyone around is like, oh, well, that's settled then. Yay.
Kill a pimp, the driver's yours.
Right. You kill the mayor.
Kill the mayor.
The town's yours.
You just move on.
Yeah.
Well, that's over with. So then we have Sarah is calling for Melvin off in the distance. And he is calling towards her. This is very much like Rocky. Rocky, Adrian. Rocky, Adrian. They hug And we're all happy with the crowd cheering, zippy and peppy synth music, and a voiceover that comes in and basically tells us all is well.
Yeah, this is, I mean, not Doug McClure, but essentially Doug McClure.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is the Toxic Avenger.
Yes.
And from there, we have 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. We have Toxie fighting films, different villains in different films, fighting his alter ego. Right?
Yeah.
Becomes his nemesis.
I don't know. I haven't seen any of them because I saw this and I was like, I'm good.
Yeah, I know. I don't think we'll be doing too many more Tromaverse, or especially Toxic Avenger stuff. But anyway, you did agree to do the green light.
I did. Yeah.
So yeah, in our little recording area here, we have the main light out. We have our green ambient light on.
Yeah.
Changes colors, but it's green for
The toxic. Yeah.
Toxic stuff.
Toxic Avenger.
Yeah.
So
this movie is fucking ridiculous and nobody will tell you different.
No.
However, how you say that comes in only one of two flavors. One, like, this is fucking ridiculous. Wipe it up with a shit wipe and get rid of it. Or two, this is fucking ridiculous. It's the best thing ever. Right? No in between on those. I say it with the best thing ever slant to it because there's so much about this that was a middle finger to everything about movie making in Hollywood, especially in the 80s, right? We're going to take shit to extremes and, going to do it our way.
Sure.
That's what independent film is. Right?
Yeah.
For me, everything works. The ridiculousness, the exaggeration of 80s. I've seen so many fucking movies that end up with gyms, and workout rooms and shit. The montage. I mean, the montage is, like an age-old thing. But in the 80s, the montage that's what defines the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
In film.
Yeah, the montage.
There have never been so many montages in a decade than through all of Hollywood history combined.
Right.
As the 80s. Holy shit.
Musical montages.
Yeah. A couple times voiceover.
Yeah.
Montages. Sometimes that happens. But yeah. Do you want to start with a lesson?
Sure.
So you're not hating on this thing the whole way through?
I feel like I've been very fair.
You have. You have.
I think this movie did, there were a lot of very creative and inventive practical effects that were pioneered in this movie. That were a lot of fun, that were really unsettling in the best way that a practical effect can be.
Yeah.
I mean, I would, watch this, if you are interested in learning practical, right? This is all goofy practical, but you can adjust and make it, done. If you Google, if you research the practical effects of this movie, there's lots of information out there about them,
Yeah.
And about how they achieved certain effects.
Mm-hmm.
Because I looked into it, and like the kid whose head exploded under the tire,
yeah.
They did something with a watermelon, something wild with a watermelon.
Wasn't it they air compressed it or blew compressed air into it?
And liquid. They blew liquid and compressed air into it and made it up. And look it up. It's crazy.
Yeah, it was a pressure explosion, wasn't it?
And
rather than like a pyrotechnic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was very effective.
Yeah.
To the point where people were troubled by it.
Yes. Well, let's talk about that for a second.
Okay.
So it's an excellent example. Excellent example. I agree. However, we are talking about a special effect for the demise of a 12-year-old child on screen.
Mm-hmm.
Not imagined. Not insinuated.
No, like just straight up.
Not hinted at. Not once, but twice they fucking crushed this kid.
Yeah.
And we, I can't remember. I was just thinking, I was trying to think of it. Recently, we talked about another film where it was, we're like, that's right, folks. It was okay to, fucking do in the kids on screen. Can't remember what that was, what we were talking about.
That's very recently.
But even throughout all of it, people caught a lot of shit. If you showed a kid getting it at all, right? Even varying degrees of insinuating something was going to happen to him. Man, that fucking rose the hackles of so many people. Walking Dead. When Carol had to take care of that psychotic little 9-year-old.
Oh, yeah.
Right? We saw the interview, the executive producer was like, we can't show that on television. Right? Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
So.
I mean, that's fair.
Well, it is, they had to insinuate the whole thing. But it was really good. I mean, and plus, before the head swashing, the makeup on the kid is crawling for his life.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, they're technically fabulous, all of the practical effects in this film.
Yeah.
So, I mean, case study, essentially.
Well, yeah. The one thing I like was and not a lot of movies have done this successfully, right? The presence of Melvin after his transformation throughout all that chunk of the movie, very present, not like a Jaws type thing, right? Where the hand comes in from the screen.
Oh, sure.
And you see it, a POV over a shoulder, but you don't get, really going at it, but they took great care to keep a full face shot from making it, towards the camera.
Yes.
But he was very involved.
Oh, yeah.
Running around, picking people up, doing shit. I that's one of the things I like about this. Now, there's not a whole lot of mastery of story. But that one effect was intriguing as hell. And honestly, the first time I remember seeing this for the first time, I thought, oh, is this going to be one of those movies where they fuck us? Where we never get to see the face?
Right.
And it reminds me of that DVD collection that we picked up where it's like 5 or 6 of those supposedly super horror, scary shitless movies, which were all a fucking joke. Were several of them where they took the note, we have no money, so you're not ever going to see a monster, right? We're just going to get creepy music and then weird camera movements and people are going to scream.
Sure.
Right. And that's what I was starting to think. I'm like, So they got a big guy in essentially what is a burnt tutu. Yeah, that's the other thing I love.
Yeah, he's wearing a tutu the whole time.
Yep. Burnt up, messed up, chemically, tutu. Is that all we're going to get? But no. There he was. In the sauna. Melvin 2.0.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and that was fun. That was fun when that finally did happen. And it made it worth it.
I think so. It was worth the wait to see his face.
And then we saw plenty of it.
Yeah.
After that.
I mean, I love fucked up faces in movies. It's one of my favorite things. That's why when I was a kid, The Goonies was one of my favorite movies.
Oh my God.
It sounds so bad. But Sloth is like my favorite character. In that movie, he's the best.
Okay.
Whatever.
It's just, oh my God, my eyes are itching.
Are you all right?
I'm fine.
Well.
Let's talk about the story. Because this is a lesson that I would say is not one to aspire to. I think it's more of a cautionary lesson. Now, the one thing this movie has going for it is it's super simple. The story is super simple. You have, weakling turns the tables, right? And then you add to that horror, and then under the umbrella of comedy. All right. So that's an easy formula to sell. We have a lot of movies from the 80s that do that, right? Now, I will say, if you're going to do that, the story could have used a little more depth. And it actually,
Oh,
so well, just wait.
could it have?
So we were watching the riff tracks.
Oh, sure. That Bela Lugosi one.
Yeah. Oh, we'll just leave it at that. But anyway, you came out, Lily and I were watching it. You came out, sat down. You're like, what the fuck is going on? And we were only like 15 minutes into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you were outside reading.
Yeah.
You came in. And sat down, watch what's going on. You're like, what the fuck is you watching? Lily just started laughing. And I had to say, well, we've been at this for like 15 minutes. And we have no more idea what the fuck's going on than you do, having just sat down. And it was hilarious because
it didn't get better either.
It didn't get better, but it was literally like just a bunch of random thoughts put on film and strung together, like the very birth of a story idea. Like when we do it, right? So,
Yeah.
We got a guy and he's got this magic, whatever, butcher's knife. Okay, well, then that helps him, maybe like, make super fine meat cuts.
Like you're drawing words out of a fishbowl.
Yeah. And we're just kind of like, spitballing shit to see if we can coalesce something into an idea. Well, that's the first step. And then 10 steps later, right, is when you start like putting shit on paper.
Many, many steps. Yeah.
Yeah. They started right on number one. Let's just start filming. I don't even think they had a fucking script because it seemed like a lot of them were just struggling to make shit up as they went along. Anyway, this movie, when we were watching that, it made me think of Toxic Avenger. It is not the most cohesive story. We've talked about why are these fucking people even on screen?
Right.
Just to establish them as bad guys, but bad guys in what way? Are you
right?
Are you
how?
Are you banking on the indulgences of my Hollywood knowledge to know that bad guys are like I said, landowners and developers and city politicians with some nefarious plan? It doesn't even matter what it is; it's just bad. It's just bad.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of what it feels like every time I see it. I'm like, God, there's absolutely nothing here to lend substance to the fact that I should give a shit that these guys are doing anything wrong, because I'm not even sure they are.
Well, this whole movie is just a lean-to of homages and like making fun of other movies from the 80s.
Satire and homage.
Yeah, it's this weird combination of satire and homage to the point where like it almost isn't, aside from the gimmicky stuff that all the hooks they put in. This movie is just hook, satire, and homage. Like there isn't any meat or substance to it. There isn't any meat or substance to any of the characters. They're all like flat Stanley flat.
Here's the thing. Okay, so in the 80s, right, a lot of the stuff was okay. Like we were talking about when they were talking about the point system.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when you brought that up. Every word you don't want to hear.
Yeah.
Right? And I have thoughts on that because I feel like not saying things isn't how you deal with things. You know what I mean? I feel like you need to take the fucking thunder out of it, so it just becomes basically a limp dick kind of thing. It's like, oh well, so what? You say this word 1,000 times, nobody's going to give a shit. It's lost all meaning. It's lost its teeth. It's lost whatever relevancy it had in society. In this, anyway. I will say, even feeling like that, watching this movie from 1986, where that shit was blatantly thrown around, not just in little films like this, but there are plenty of big films.
Yeah. Big
comedies where they use this kind of humor, and it is super offensive.
It is wildly offensive.
Yeah. I just derailed myself. I just got like
You were talking about
Just
story, how this story
just
has got
suddenly disgusted
the
with
strength
this
of
stuff.
tissue paper.
Well, and like you said, it's homages and tributes and stuff, or satire, and the whole thing, like the thing with Melvin, right? Just like that scene where they're talking about the point system, using those words. Melvin's representation is clearly one of the most offensive
Jesus
in
Christ.
the whole thing, right?
Yes.
Nobody, not even Lloyd, I guarantee you, Lloyd Kaufman is never going to fucking try that at that level again today, right? Troma, if you watch the Troma films, they've evolved. They're still repugnant. They're like the deep end of the pool of National Lampoon.
Oh,
Where,
yeah,
where
I
like
know.
even they won't swim.
Yeah.
Right? Because like American Pie was vulgar. I didn't find it funny. I found it full of immature, vulgar humor.
Oh, I mean, it's just all like ass and dick jokes.
It is. And I'm like, what adult is laughing themselves silly? They should have toned the actual language back, insinuated the stuff, and like directed it at teens. Because that's who would have just rolled over laughing with this stuff. But but then you can't have Shannon Elizabeth with her tits out.
Pie at teens, but like they knew teens would watch it. But
Well, yeah, but I mean deliberately.
I feel like they did deliberately. I don't think it was a good thing that they did that.
I
But
don't
I feel
think
like they did.
I think they directed it at young adults who, sadly, I know fucking people in their 40s and 50s who are just fucking like that. And it saddens me that I've ever known them. Because it's like, man, that... Anyway, that level of brash, immature, vulgar humor still sits above where this movie sits. And
Yeah.
it's time of making, right? The whole concept of the depiction of Melvin. And, we've got Bozo, who, like I said, I don't know what fucking happened there. Was it a performance choice? Was it actually scripted?
I told you, cocaine enema.
Oh, goddamn. And just those, like you said, they cut back to the restaurant murder scene just so they could throw those terrible fucking jokes.
Yeah. That's the only reason they did that.
Yeah, and not like bad pun, ha ha ha, yeah, kind of thing. Like they shouldn't even been said. They shouldn't have been said. They shouldn't have been in the movie at all.
Right.
We could have done without it. All that, wrap it together. That is what you don't want when you are writing your script. Everything needs to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Every scene. And it's funny we're talking about this because I was just listening to, the episode that came out earlier this week. Terry McFadden.
Oh yeah.
Right. And we do mention Lloyd Kaufman and Toxic Avenger in that. So I was listening to it, at the grocery store, and it's one of the things he was talking about is, every scene, that's what he looks for as a script doctor, is that's fine. You can have whatever you want for scenes, but he's going to look at it as, is it moving anything forward? Is anything actually happening?
Right.
Right. And it doesn't mean every scene is like a bam, bam, a ramp up and a big payoff, but shit has to happen to move the story forward. Right. In little bits and pieces as we cut from one thing to the next and the next. And, scene 12 eventually becomes clear in scene 33. Right.
Yeah.
But scene 12 then has a place because it picks up again over here as we're mixing and matching all the things going on. None of this really survives that check, that scrutiny.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Just here's what I'll say. The portrayal of every character in this movie, every single one.
Oh yeah.
It makes me physically ill. Because they're all incredibly offensive, especially Melvin and the blind girl, Sarah.
Oh, yeah.
Her portrayal is like the most disgustingly offensive thing I've ever seen.
Well, it is. In my notes, at one point, I had made that note.
Oh, I know.
Clearly in this film production, playing a blind person means looking like you're fucking dumbfounded.
Yeah.
You know,
and acting like an idiot.
Yeah, and acting, like a moron. Huh? 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 It's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It has its place as a cult film. It is undeniable that it has launched the Tromaverse.
Yeah.
Right? All things trauma has put Lloyd Kaufman in a comfortable house and everything. Has had a lot of people work on it. And I would like to say it has matured over the years, the whole trauma thing. It hasn't, but that's its hook. That's its thing.
That's fine.
Right? Okay. And you know what? You can't shit on this completely because there's way worse than this out there. That's newer and older.
True.
Got just as many people following.
Velocipaster,
I
think, is, just about as offensive and off the mark.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
And we've had a few that were, some really Bunnyman Grindhouse edition. If that isn't a fucking racist against, Native Americans, that whole nature thing.
Sure.
And they're even, and then we talk about Killer Clowns from Outer Space, the one scene, me go find Trip.
Oh God, right? Don't do it even.
Everyone knows what I'm talking about who's seen that movie, right? That's kind of the thing. Not that anything was ever really okay. It's just people, it was, no one spoke up about a lot of shit for a long time. We talked about with Terry, Ed Wood, and how for no fucking reason, he's got in the middle of one of his films, a blackface routine.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with the film. He didn't film it. It was stock footage.
Yeah, it's not even his. He just wanted it in his movie.
Yeah, of a 1930s blackface routine that was filmed.
Yeah.
And somehow he spliced it into his fucking movie, and now for this. Oh God. Right? Things are out there. This movie will offend a lot of people. You said it, every character is offensive. They're exaggerated to the point where it's they're offensive. Yeah, I don't know.
So, we can talk about some of the good things of this movie.
Well, here's the funny thing. Some of those, that is part of the good stuff.
That's true.
Right?
A lot of what they were doing was to poke fun at and, draw attention to the bad.
Right. Well, if none of that was offensive, if none of that was, wildly overdone like it has been, if none of that stuff was done the way it was, we wouldn't be talking about it today.
Yeah.
Nobody would give a shit.
A lot of it in this film is clearly done as satire.
Yes. But, it's a fine line. It's one person's satire, it's another person's fucking raging red flag, right?
Yes.
But here's the good thing about it. Here's the good lesson to take from it. Roll with your hook. Don't let anybody tell you no. Right? You've got to make the story work. You've got to make the hook work with the story. You've got to have something cohesive to put together. But this whole trauma thing, Lloyd Kaufman did not get to where he is by listening to people tell him that is fucking dumb.
You can't put that in a movie. Lloyd Kaufman says, fuck yes, I can.
Watch me.
Right.
Right?
Lloyd, you can't put that in a movie.
Well,
fuck you.
And listening to Terry, the talk with Terry, excuse me. I was mentioning, I'd rather have a Ed Wood career than none at all. And I'd rather have a Lloyd Kaufman career than none at all. And again, that's not saying, I'd rather have any kind of fucking thing than nothing at all. Because we're not in this for money. We're not in this for fame. We're not selling. That's not what this is all about. We're not going to sell out. I'd rather have nothing if I didn't have something that I was passionate about. Ed Wood was passionate about everything that he did. Right?
Yeah.
Lloyd Kaufman is passionate about keeping things moving. He liked the formula. He understood that it made money. He understood that there's a certain group of people that would come to it. And he understood the whole fandom thing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Toxic Avenger was one of the first big fandoms to really form. You know, a lot of movies before that have had fans, but this was like a multi-marketing explosion.
Yeah.
You know, we had Toxic Avenger shirts and toys and shit. That out of an indie era, or an indie film rather,
Right.
rare. Yeah, they barely have been able to get the fucking money together to make movies.
Right? How did people in the 80s even find out about this movie?
Right?
There wasn't any internets.
Well, but here's the thing. Movies like this, see, I think Lloyd would have not been considered an indie filmmaker. He would have been considered a B-movie studio.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Indie, and we got to make those distinctions, I think, a little more often.
Sure.
You know, indie isn't just running out doing your own thing. Okay, there are a lot of legitimate, I don't want to say legitimate. What am I trying to say?
Well
structured.
established?
Well, structured. Okay, because we know indie film, it's, I mean, like David.
Indie film is the biggest umbrella term that you can use.
But, you know, David has a legitimate production company and everything, right? But it's anybody's fucking guess if and when something's going to happen, even for him, day to day, right?
Sure.
If and when something's going to happen, where's it going to fuck up? Where's it going to spin out of control? He doesn't have a whole staff of people, right? He doesn't have a building and everything. But B-movie studios do. They have a dozen people.
Yeah.
You know, maybe. But they have people who have specific jobs and purposes in that. Let's look at Asylum.
I was going to say, you think Asylum.
Yeah, Asylum is a solid B-movie studio. They know they're never going to make tent poles, and they're never going to go for a tent pole budget. But they have a whole slew of employees.
They're a whole thing.
Right.
And they're not just a distribution company. They don't like buy movies up that people make.
Right.
They studio produce their own films and then market them. They're a full service production company.
Where an indie filmmaker has to go crawling on their belly, right, to all these distributors. Please
sell my movie.
Please, do this. Well, and that's how Toxic Avenger got out, because there was a lot of films like this, a lot of B-movie studios where they would get low-level distribution, and they would play at places like the Orpheum here in town, the independent films, the small regional theater chains. Right? Nationwide ones, they knew better. No one's going to soak into this. No one's going to put this on 2,500 screens.
No one's going to put Troma films in a blockbuster.
Oh my God, that was the best part of that documentary. The Lloyd Kaufman bit was exactly 11 seconds. And there you go, folks. That was Lloyd Kaufman's bit of this documentary.
We're talking about The Last Blockbuster, which is on Netflix. It's a fantastic documentary.
And the guy making the documentary actually got Lloyd Kaufman to sit down with him and talk about Blockbuster and all that. And Lloyd Kaufman is just like, I got nothing to say about those motherfuckers.
They wouldn't stock my movie.
They wouldn't stock my movies. And that was it. That was the whole scene. Because it's true. Blockbuster would not let any Troma or Kaufman movies in their stores.
Blockbuster was clean movies.
It was a whole thing. Yeah. But we won't get into that. But anyway, the whole point of writing your story, right? Doing your thing. If it's fucking out there, I think what you need to do is you need to have the balls to go full bore with this and divorce yourself completely from the idea of, Lionsgate sub studio, whatever is going to pick up your script. No, they're not going to, they are going to fucking spend every penny they can to keep you away from their door.
Yeah.
They want nothing to fucking do with you or that kind of movie. And that's fine.
Right.
What you need to do is you need to own up to that, and you need to do a couple things. You need to, one, realize, all right, I'm alone in my boat. Right now, I'm alone in my boat.
Sure.
And I got to be okay with that. Two, I got to know which direction I'm going to sail.
Mm-hmm.
And then three, what am I looking for? Are you looking for folks to come help you at an indie style? Or do you want to start this be the first brick in the building that will be your B studio, where you want to create something that is a legitimate Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 business, right? For a handful of employees, while you guys are working to get your financing, to get scripts, to get sets built and productions and a schedule. And for the next 12 months, what exactly you're doing between these 8 movies that you're going to film.
Sure.
That's what a B movie studio does. An independent studio goes day by day.
Oh, yeah.
Don't know what's going on. Don't know if what's going on is going to end. And it just doesn't ever get better. It's a fucking headache, but it's one or the other. People love either or both, right? And then you have to accept that. And then you have to realize you're going to have to put in way more work than the guy who is going to get let into Lionsgate.
Sure.
And get talked to, right? Because he's just like, I'm just handing my shit over, man. Right? I've got a story and a hook that fits nicely in, A-line Hollywood. The shit they like. All this experimental, weird, one-off, wacky shit. I either turn my back on it or I embrace it. To me, that's it. This is a perfect example of embracing it. Just fuck them.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to get it made and do whatever. And then be smart enough to know when you've got a following, pounce on it. Give them something right away.
Well, that's true. And I think I haven't seen the other Toxic Avenger movies. But I will say and what you said earlier was that they evolve, right? I think with their audience.
Well, yeah.
Appropriately to their audience. I'm sure they don't get like a whole lot better, but I believe they might get slightly less largely offensive.
They focus more. They get more offensive on fewer areas.
Sure.
They focus in.
Oh,
right?
yeah. They hone in.
Well, here's an example. Okay. So Lloyd never went ape shit in the later film, right? Every movie, there's some tits. Not a lot and not just 1 or 2. There's enough.
Okay.
Right. Think of how many, tits out shots were in Toxic Avenger. That's pretty much a constant all the way through because they figured, hey, you know what? That's like just enough. Satisfies that group of people just fine. We don't need more because then that just gets, now we're just like topless shit going on from A to B. And if we have less, then they're just going to walk away. So they found that and they kept it. The quality of the filmmaking, the sound and everything, like any new studio, things evolve.
Get better over time.
So technically things get better over time. The writing necessarily didn't. There's a lot of weird Troma, like one-off stuff that
they're keeping to their audience's
yeah,
taste,
even I was like,
guess.
there's nothing funny about this at all. It's not even like a story. I don't know. We talk about people and their self-masturbatory works of art.
Okay.
There's a few of those in the Troma universe.
All right. Well, I was going to try and make an argument that I think you're just telling me isn't an argument that needs to be made. I was going to try and, in defense of the Troma universe, maybe they're doing good things as time gets on and getting better with stuff, but I guess not.
Well, no, because that's not the audience.
Right.
The audience doesn't want to. We talk about how, like, again, we talked about with Terry McFadden, like Seinfeld and Always Sunny in Philadelphia. No development. Nobody watches that to see those fucking characters grow.
Right.
We don't want to see any changes and stuff. Okay. Troma people.
No, we don't want to see Dennis and Dee and Charlie and Mac become better people.
Or humans.
Right.
No. The Tromaverse, nobody gives a shit how reprehensible some of these people are or their portrayals. They just love Toxic Avenger. He's, 80-pound weakling. Fuck them all. Gets his thing and, the weird superhero kind of thing.
Sure.
Right. That's what people look for.
Well, now I know better than to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Well, it's that whole thing. They know the formula and it has worked.
All right.
Do not fix what is not broken.
Sure.
Right. And they kept it. Now, if the fandom had shifted, they would have shifted. Right. Because if you have a fan base, but then their tastes start changing over time, if you're going to keep making stuff,
well,
you start changing with them.
I
keep
think
them with you. In
an ideal world, you would do that, but there are some people who don't do that.
Well, that's true, and you know what happens.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, it is a cult classic, and all of this, in spite of it, for me, I love this movie because it is what it is. Right. It's it's its thing. And it deserves a cult following, like a lot of others that we've come on. I know you are not of that opinion
Well,
entirely.
I can say that I have seen this movie, and I can also say that I think that if you are passionate about filmmaking and, or anything to do with filmmaking, and you are a buff of films, that you should see this movie so that you can say, I have seen it.
There you go.
So
I think that's fair. I think that's where I would leave it. That's what I tell people. I don't push it. I don't have any t-shirts. I don't have any memorabilia. I don't have any Toxic Avenger figures. Nothing. Right?
Right.
Okay. But I will still tell people, hey, on that subject, take a dive into Toxic Avenger.
Watch it once.
I feel like
you can say that you've seen it.
Yeah. And then from there, go where you will. But,
right.
Okay.
I mean, at the very least, it gives you more context into some like pop culture things that are a thing that you might not have known, or things that came from the Toxic Avenger.
Yeah. And actually, if you follow the evolution of their movies, because they're not like bang, 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 bang. They're spread apart over a little while, and you can see the subtle things that, are the big moment.
Right.
More than anything, it's just an example of stick to it. Stick to your guns. Figure out what you want. Do you want to walk into Lionsgate and Universal and do it their way? Do you want to tell your story your way? Got to make those choices. And if you can do it your way, how do you want to do it? By the skin of your teeth, or are you looking to build something like a studio, that will be every day doing something, or are you just going to go from project to project? And one's not better than the other. Depends on who you are.
Sure. Also depends on what you're able to accomplish.
Yeah. So, again, I mean, I think it's the biggest thing to take away from this. Follow your heart. Do your thing. Make it what you want. Understand people are going to love it or hate it or somewhere in the middle. And that's just the way it is. You know what? Embrace those who love it and don't listen to those who hate it.
Lloyd Kaufman and everyone in the Tromaverse knows who they are and what they do and what they want to do.
Oh, exactly.
There's no question. They're doing what makes them happy.
And the fact that they're still around, and this is still a thing, you have to tip your hat to them. Know what they're doing. And if you want to be a part of this, business, this creative business, you really have to honor them.
Yeah.
For they built a machine that worked, and it's still ticking along like fucking Swiss clockwork, right? And how many things have come and gone? So if for no other reason, kudos, man. Absolutely. And how do you get successful? What is every person who writes books about being successful who aren't actually successful themselves, except for the fact that they convince people to buy their books? Imitate the people who found success.
Yeah. Do what they do.
Folks, save your $29.99, $14.99 for, whatever, and your seminar fucking fees. We just gave you about $50,000 worth of seminar advice right there. Find someone who's successful, copy their habits. And you know what? It's still not going to work.
No.
It's the thing.
Just do your thing.
If any of this shit had any single answer to it, we'd all be doing the things.
Oh, I love the articles that are like, these 5 things are what every successful person has as habits. They wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and
okay.
Fuck off.
Not to, I don't like, I don't want to disparage this person, but I mean, it's a situation. It's factual that represents a clear statement to me. So Bill Gates, right?
Sure.
Clearly someone that, I'm not a Microsoft fan, but I, had to spend my life with Windows and stuff. And it's what gave me a career, and as everything came and went in its wake, Novell and Unix and everything. Microsoft's Microsoft, right? Doesn't matter how he got started. Doesn't matter what happened. The fact of the fucking matter is everybody knows the name Bill Gates. Wildly successful at what he did. So copying his habits and stuff, great. But, folks, he's getting divorced. It's not going well. So where's success, right? Where's the success in that? And it's kind of terrible to bring that up, but it's a fact. Look at successful people, but also look at the quality of their life. I don't give a
Yeah.
shit how many people have billions and billions and billions of dollars. That's not success.
I would say measure success by how happy whatever it is you're doing makes you.
Yep.
I mean, not by how much money it makes you or by how much output you're doing, but how happy is it making you? Because that's what matters.
There's a scene in one of the episodes of Detectorists where Lance is going on about that. Like all these people in their seminars telling you to be the best you can be. What if you are the best you can be? What if they're the best you want to be?
Right.
Why do I have to have all of this to be my best? What if I'm perfectly content with how I'm living my life?
Yeah.
And what I have? That's the secret. The minute doing any of this stresses you out, makes you not want to wake up, doesn't give you any mirthful feelings.
Yeah.
Right. You're done. You're done in this business.
And that's not saying that you can't get stressed with some of the things that, happen with it. But if if it itself is the cause of your stress and not like oh my God, this location fell through or,
Yeah, there's always stressors.
Right.
Right. Because it's daily life.
Mm-hmm.
There's always going to be something that doesn't go right, or Jesus Christ, I got to fix this or that, or, oh, this person fucking backed out. What are we going to do? We got all this money. We're supposed to start shooting.
But if this itself, this creative process isn't making you happy.
Yes. If
then
the mere thought of, I need to write another script. we need to get going, right? You're doing this indie style,
mm-hmm.
right? You got to come up with a project. If that stresses you, and there's no level of excitement, no level of, you can be angsty because all the shit that's going to be coming. But if there's not one spark of thrill or excitement in there or passion, that through all that bullshit, that's what this business is. And I'm going to take it on and wrestle with it. And I'm going to be miserable and I'm going to be happy. And at the end, I'm going to love what I do.
Yeah.
If that's missing, move on.
Do you know what I get stressed about?
Do tell.
I get stressed that there isn't enough time in the day for us to do all of the things that we enjoy doing.
I know. We have to pick and choose, and that sucks.
It sucks so hard.
Oh my God. And we could have like all day, literally all day, every day, with nothing else to do.
Except just like our hobbies.
Things that make us happy.
I know.
And we still wouldn't have enough time. We'd still be like, I got to choose. And then you enjoy the one thing and then you feel bad you weren't doing the other thing.
I know.
And here's the thing. You know what? No matter if we get this zombie movie made, no matter if we get our script sold, no matter if we get the short finished, I think we are successful. Because what a problem to have. We have so many things that fucking make us happy. We can't fit them all in day to day. We have to pick and choose. And
I know, poor us.
Right? Well, I know, but oh my God, anybody else out there with that, you've made it. Right? I don't need to see our names on the marquee. We don't need to have an IMDb thing. We don't need to be speaking at Comic-Con. We don't need to be doing all this stuff.
All those things would be cool.
They would be cool, but that's not why we do this. We create to create. Because, oh my God, when we sit down and write, it's like, and it's wonderful. But just all the other things that we do in relation to all this is, I have a hard time bitching about my life if I had to.
Yeah.
There are stresses in the day and, this week was a good week. A lot of stuff that got in the way of us doing the things we enjoyed, but a lot of things that happened that brought us joy.
Right.
As well. So,
right. But then today,
Jesus Christ, if I had a fucking dirty bomb.
Today was a terrible, awful, no good.
I'd have popped it right in the middle of the store.
Dirty day.
Son of a bitch. I was so fucking done with the day and I wasn't even partway through it.
I know.
But we all have stuff like that.
That's okay.
And that's life. But yeah, in the big scale of things, I can't fucking complain. I can't at all. And folks, I guess we hope that's where you are. And I know the Troma people aren't complaining about the world they built.
Right.
Right. you find the things that make you happy, you find the things that work, you find the things that bring you success, and how you measure success is up to you. We measure success by
how happy we are.
Exactly. And overall, we're pretty happy.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't think of enough stuff to legitimately bitch about. And longtime listeners, my ramblings are pretty petty. I mean, there's some the big ones I get really passionate about: racism, sexism, just all that terrible shit. But most of the time I'm on about, the fucker who just sees me standing there, came up, parked their fucking cart right next to somebody else, blocking the fucking aisle, looking straight at me, won't back up, won't fucking move forward, just stands there, not even looking at the shelf, right? Just stands there.
Yeah.
God damn that person.
I mean, yeah, my biggest complaints in life are like, it'd be cool if our studio was a little bigger. Oh, it'd be cool if we had like a D&D room. How do we organize our D&D stuff?
Yeah.
What do we, they're,
oh yeah, I'm sitting here looking over thinking, maybe we should get some more of those little boxes. The little plastic boxes I use for the cables and stuff, because found some more adapters. I need another box I can label.
My biggest pain point today was, when I vacuum and the corners of the rug come up in the vacuum, and I'm like, oh, nuts.
Yeah.
I feel like that's pretty minor in the big scheme of things.
Yeah, I hear you.
I
hear you.
And also wanted to go out detecting, but we couldn't. Because there just wasn't enough fucking time in the day, because we slept late, because we were up late doing something we enjoyed yesterday. Oh, man. Life's so hard.
I know. Well, yeah, we closed out our D&D thing. It was like 3 o'clock before we went to bed. And I was up for a little while. And yeah, it all comes down to, what problems.
I know.
I don't like minimizing people's problems, but I'll minimize ours. They're mostly fucking just...
Pity us for these problems.
Yes. Oh my God. Okay. So folks, Toxic Avenger, it's not an easy watch. I'm going to say that. A lot of dated stuff that you have to really push through, but overall, give it a go. And
I would recommend it,
because you have to see it to understand how it works.
Sure.
Right. And how this can help you make your thing work. And then
go check out our website,
www.lordsofmisruleproductions.com.
You can find all the things there.
Mm-hmm.
Past episodes, our blog, links to where you can find our podcast on your favorite podcast platform of choice.
Yes.
Information about other projects we're working on, links to our social media pages. You should go and follow us and follow people we're following.
Yes. Our Patreon link is there.
Yeah.
Check it out. Become a patron. Become a B-sider, B-movie lover.
Yeah.
And if you want to support the show, we also have a link to our merchandise.
Another way you can support the show.
Yeah, we've got some shirts and masks.
You say,
and
man,
sweaters and cups. And
I'm not ready for a monthly commitment, but I sure would like a coffee mug. Go check out our merch store.
Yeah.
And then maybe later think about a monthly commitment.
Yeah. Hey, it's cheaper than a decent sized drink at Starbucks once a month.
Yeah.
And and the merch is pretty cool. We checked it out.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, we got to get that mug to your dad.
Yes.
So check all that out. Check out who's following us, who we're following, and give them a look. They're movie stars, they're actors, directors, producers, writers, stuff. A line cinema, B line cinema,
and other
indie
podcasters.
There are other podcasters. Some have to do with film and stuff. Some don't. Doesn't matter. All creatives. Learn something new. Yes. Check them out. Learn a little bit about something. Listen to a podcast. Follow someone on a feed. See where it goes. Anything you want to close out with?
I've been walking a lot lately. I recommend it. I know a lot of people say you should walk more, But I was like, yeah, okay. And then I started walking more and I'm like, hey, you should walk more. So I know that's not related to movies or anything.
Well, no. And,
but
hey, here's the thing. Summer's coming.
I recommend it. Walking's good.
Summer's coming. The weather's fine here in Wisconsin. I don't think anybody goes out for brisk walks in the, dead of winter. It's like, it's a bitch. We hate winter and we refuse to participate outside. But yeah, do some walking. We had another good bike ride last week.
Yeah. That was a good ride.
Yeah. And, it's just going to be more and more. We just had some weird rain shit going on this week too.
It's been weird, wild weather.
Yeah. But hey, summer's coming. So, get out there and walk. And guess what? We're starting to relax some restrictions. And we're starting to, for as long as we stay smart with this stuff, we can keep ahead of it, but we can also start socializing again. And what have we always said, folks? Networking. Get out there. Start going to the things that we've been missing for the last year. Events with your fellow creatives. Get out there.
I'm so thirsty to go out into the world and do things.
So get out, do some walking to get those creative juices flowing. Take up some time. Get out there and start going to things as they open up, and start surrounding yourself with your tribe again. Mm-hmm. And use it all for the power of creation. People, do your thing. That's why we're here, to create. So let's embrace life and bring it in and give life to some thoughts and ideas.
Yeah. Anyway,
right. Yeah.
Walk more.
Okay. So with that, until next week, this is Jim.
And this is Danny.
And we'll talk to you soon.
Toodles.